Nancy, and nice to see you again. And for those that haven't been here before, welcome to the group. So, what are we talking about today? Today, I'm going to be talking about pellets versus seeds. Why pellets are better, and or if you feed seeds, what you should make sure. So, think about it. If we eat the same meal every day, most likely we will not get the correct nutrition unless you have some scientist that has calculated carefully all of the nutritions that you need into one specific packet, one plate that is perfectly designed to cover your needs for that day. Now, even though while that might be so, would you want to eat that every day? Probably not. So most likely you don't get the necessary nutritions that you need. Same for birds. So that's why pellets were developed and invented. So if your bird's diet consists of mostly seeds, you have to consider this. In the wild, a bird has a huge variety what they eat. They fly from one field to the next. So one day they might eat corn, the next day they might eat wheat or grasses and flowers, insects, of course, some seeds too. So they never eat the same thing. So the diet and the environment they're living in is key, obviously, to their health. So if they live somewhere where crops are bountiful, they're going to be super healthy. But if they live somewhere where there's only one specific crop, maybe, they might not be healthy because they're eating the same thing every day, which is not going to cover their nutritional needs. It is also very important that you know the difference between pellets, why to feed pellets, and seeds, and why not to just feed seeds. Seeds are important. You still got to give your bird some seeds because it has fats in it that it needs. It's more of an emotional thing that a bird is a bird. It needs to eat seeds. That's how I feel about it anyway. So it likes to forage and crack things. So that's what I'm thinking. So you can still give some seeds, but here's why you shouldn't just give a seed diet. So when you buy a bag of seeds, even if you buy the best that you can find, like literally it'll have like everything in it that you might think, like dried fruit, nuts, and dried vegetables, and some wheat and some grains. Guess what? Your bird loves seeds. That's how they are. They love seeds. When I say seeds, I mean sunflower seeds, safflower seeds. And safflower seeds and sunflower seeds are really high in fat. So they have very little vitamins too and nutrition. They have some, but not a lot. So they're considered junk food for the birds. So it's like me eating French fries and a burger every day. Yes, it'll sustain me. It'll feed me and keep me alive. But will I be healthy? Will I show something that day or the next day? No. If I eat a burger and French fries every day, in about 20 years, it'll show up. Then I'm going to be like a fatty liver. Who knows what else? Cholesterol, probably. And I will die prematurely. And that is the problem with seeds. So I encourage you to try a pelleted diet, and I'm going to tell you why. So because when you buy the seeds, you have that packet with all that good stuff in it, the nutrition that it needs and everything. But guess what? Your bird is specific. Your bird will pick out only what it likes best. It'll pick out the sunflower seeds and the safflower seeds and either chuck the rest on the ground because it's looking for it, or not touch it at all. So what good is that excellent mix that you have purchased that has all that great stuff in it if your bird doesn't touch it? So if you want to feed a seed diet, then you have to make sure that your bird actually eats everything in there. So not just the sunflower seeds. So if your bird does that, then you're good. If it has dried fruit, if it has dried vegetables in it, grains and nuts, and sometimes they have little protein bits in it and stuff. So then you're good. But most likely, chances are that your bird only picks out its favorite, and that's kind of like, you pick through, if you get a salad and you pick your favorite parts out and you kind of leave the rest and don't eat it. So you're not going to get the nutrition that you can claim you ate a salad, but did you really? Also, so when you give a seed diet, you will have to probably give supplement vitamins, nutrition, minerals. So you have to be really careful that you don't overdo that because that can be bad too. So it's doable. You can do it if you know what you're doing, obviously. I give my birds seeds at night for like a snack, but just very little, maybe like half a handful, just so they have something to snack on because we all like to eat something different. And during the day, obviously, they get a ton of vegetables and a ton of different foods. So pellets, also called a formulated diet, are basically it's a formula that they have figured out that is perfect for your bird's daily needs. It consists of vitamins, proteins, fats, other nutrients that your bird needs, and it's all compacted into this pellet. They make it tasty. They put flavors in it. Some natural. Some companies it's natural flavors like from beet or turmeric or other things like spices and cinnamon. Those are good, and I'll be talking about that. Some of the cheaper pellets might just use coloring just to make it appeal more to your bird. But so you have to be careful also what pellet you buy. Not just any pellet will do. But so each pellet, which can be in different shapes, obviously, will have the balanced nutrition that your bird needs. Now, the hardest part is to get your bird to eat the pellets because for some reason they obviously prefer seeds. So if a bird was started on seeds, it is pretty hard to transfer them back or to convert them to pellets. But it is doable, very doable, obviously, because my birds have been converted. Actually, my Olivia, who's my African gray, I got her as a baby, so she was started on pellets. And she is eating some seeds, so it's okay. Because it is a blend that is baked together, the bird can't go into the bowl and pick out its favorites because it's all put together. So it eats its nutrients that it needs with every bite. So that's the idea of a pellet, that the bird can't really just throw away and waste the food that is good for it and pick out the stuff that's not so good for it. So that's why pellets are really good. And there is many different ways that you can serve pellets to your bird if it doesn't eat it. And I have made a video about that, how to try to change the pellet to maybe entice your bird to eat it. So go look for that. Very important. So if you have rescued a bird and it is a seed eater, you can't just go ahead and put pellets in its cage and say, here, eat, and then leave it alone because your bird will starve to death. It's very important for you guys to know this because they don't know what it is, most likely. They might not like it right away because they don't know what it is, okay? Or they don't like that kind of pellet. So you might have to play around with different. I think at one point I had 13 different pellets that I mixed. And you know what? That's okay too. You can bunch up a different mixture of pellets and serve that to your bird. So that way they don't get bored with the same pellet every day too. That's very important too. So first what you will have to do is give them seeds and put some pellets in there. And as you can see, if it touches the pellets, then you can start replacing the seeds, less seeds, more pellets, and so on. Of course, that's the most obvious way to do it. But that sometimes doesn't work because the bird just will chuck out the pellet and eat the seed that is in there, and then it won't have enough food because you only put a little bit in there. So you'll have to play around with it, but be super careful that you weigh your bird all the time. Make sure it doesn't lose weight because now it's eating half the seeds and not touching the pellets. So you have to be really careful with that. The best way to do it is to start your bird on pellets super young. So if you get a baby, then you give them pellets so they don't even know any different. Of course, always make sure you keep track of your bird's health. And if you see any change in its appearance or behavior, make sure you go to your avian vet. I would always say that go to an avian vet, not just a regular vet, just because they know specifically what might be wrong with your bird much better. Okay, now I'm going to compare pellets, their ingredients, and what I like better with some and not like so much with others. Now, this is a personal opinion, and by no means that any of the pellets might be a bad pellet. This is just a personal preference. So if you feed your bird a certain pellet where I say I don't like it so much, then that's just again a personal preference of mine. There are a million different pellets, so I'm not going to be able to compare them all. I'm going to compare a bunch of the better known and a couple that I didn't know before, but through my research, I was very intrigued that there are actually pellets that do not have corn in it, which you will see is a big deal. They're based on other foods. When you look at the ingredients, and most of you might know this, and so don't feel like I don't think you're smart, but some might not know. So if you look at the ingredients, so the first ingredient that you see is the largest amount that is in the packet. So if the first ingredient is corn, that means it mostly consists of corn. And then any other following ingredient is the smaller amount and less and less and less. Watch for that. Make sure that the ingredient you are looking for that you like is furthest in the front. The reason why I don't like corn and the reason why corn is usually used first, it's readily available, it's cheap, it's considered a filler, but for me, corn has starch, hence carbs. And carbs are not very good for your bird. It is high in sugar. It makes your bird sluggish and lazy, makes it gain weight. So that's something I don't want. Now, I mean, you can obviously give your bird some corn. I like to give it fresh, best. Now, if your bird only eats a certain pellet and it happens to have corn as the first ingredient, don't change it. As long as it's eating the pellet, it's fine. Still gets all the nutrition. But if you have a choice and you're just starting because you're researching before you're getting a bird, I encourage you to check out some of the brands that I have found, so which is going to follow next. Okay, I'm going to start with the corn-based pellets. This is Supreme Fruit Blend flavor. As you can see, the first ingredient is corn. Next is the Pretty Bird brand. This one is a specific African gray mixture, but also, as you can see, first thing is corn. This is Higgins in tune. I really like this mixture, even though corn is the first ingredient, but they use a lot of very natural flavorings and colorings. This brand is a favorite among a lot of people. It's called Rowdy Bush, but it does also have corn as its first ingredient. Supreme Natural is one of my favorites. My birds eat this, but it also does have corn as the first ingredient. This brand is called Lefevre and is very popular, and it does have corn as a first ingredient. Please don't base your decision on the fact that corn is the first ingredient. Please make sure you check out all the other ingredients that follow after corn. Next are what I consider your better options that have healthier ingredients. I'm starting with Harrison's. This is a very good brand. It is very high quality, even though it does start with sunflower kernels. The rest of the ingredients are very high quality. Next, this is Oven Fresh Bites. This is slow baked, so the nutritions are held intact, and it has very good ingredients. I really like Golden Feast because the ingredients are organic and high quality, and the first ingredient is quinoa. I consider Top's Parrot Food one of the best pellets around because its main ingredient is alfalfa leaves. It is also one of the hardest ones to teach your birds to eat, though. Thank you. I hope you like what I do. And if you do, please go ahead and hit that bell so you get notified next time I make a new video, and maybe subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good night, good evening, good morning, whenever you are. Bye, guys.